Hey everybody, it's Will, and welcome to Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. Hey guys, so I'm very excited to talk about the film that I have with me today. I just rewatched it a couple nights ago. It's so good. It's Bullet in the Head, John Woo. This came out in 1990, so this was the same period in John Woo's career that he made The Killer and Hardboiled, which are probably his two most famous films in the West. And if you know anything about like Hong Kong thrillers and action movies, and if you've seen any John Woo movies that are not the American ones he's made, those are probably the ones you've seen. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, this movie doesn't have the recognition and didn't receive the same kind of release that those films did in the US. I mean, it's a huge movie. It's this big epic about these three guys who grow up in Hong Kong in the 1960s and are from the wrong side of the tracks and who are involved in like some gang violence. And there's like a lot of turmoil in Hong Kong. There are protests, there's police crackdowns, and they feel like they'll never get ahead. They'll never be able to do anything with their lives. And they have to go on the lam, and they elect to go to Vietnam to try to make money because the country's in chaos because the Vietnam War is happening. And I mean, there are some of the scenes in Vietnam are so insane and so violent and so kind of like nightmarish and so well shot that it reminds me of Apocalypse Now, honestly. And that's one of my favorite movies ever. And I don't say that lightly. And I don't know if I've ever seen another film that I would say, oh, that reminds me of Apocalypse Now. But there are two scenes in particular in this film that really do call that to mind for me, that they almost have this psychedelic quality because they're so nightmarish. So the original cut of this film was over 3 hours long. I'm going to talk about this version that I have real quick. And as you can see, it's just got like a regular disc in here. It's got like an anti-theft device, but I'm almost positive that this is a bootleg. So this film has been released in various cuts. John Woo's original version, like I said, was over 3 hours long. And then the company that produced the film said, no, that's ridiculous. You have to cut it down. So it was cut to like around 2 hours. But there was a version that was shown at film festivals that was 136 minutes. Now, you can get a version of the Blu-ray from Hong Kong, and I think of the DVD as well, that's 135 minutes. That's called the restored version. I don't know if this is that, or the 136-minute version that's been shown at festivals has been bootlegged on VHS, right? This might be like a combination of the 135 and the 136-minute versions, because it's like 135 minutes and change. So I don't know if they would round up or round down. It's like 135 minutes and like 30 seconds or something. But it does this weird thing where in certain scenes it cuts to footage that does not match the rest of the footage. Like it looks like it was taken from a VHS and spliced into a DVD. Like the audio and visual quality is much lower than the rest of the film. And that only happens in maybe like a half a dozen scenes, but it includes some like crucial dialogue that if you didn't see it, the meaning of the film would not be the same. So and it says on here that it's the restored edition, and there is like a legitimate DVD copy of this film that you can buy from Hong Kong that has a very similar cover to this. But if you look very closely at this, it looks like it might be like a high quality photocopy. I don't honestly know. It's a mystery, and it's a very interesting mystery to me. If you know a lot about this film, maybe comment on this video and let us know what the deal is. Because I've read that the 135-minute version does have like a little bit of differential in the quality of some of the scenes that were cut out and then restored because the original negatives were not preserved in the same condition as the theatrical cut of the film. But the disparity here is insane. Like it goes from like you're watching a high quality DVD to like you're watching like a bootleg VHS. It's not just like a little bit of a dip in quality. It's like they made no effort to even disguise that. And the editing is weird too. Like it will cut on weird frames and it's not fluid and continuous. It's like it really looks like someone bought the DVD, put it on a computer, got a bootleg copy of the VHS, put that on a computer, and then kind of like spliced it together to make one long film. One thing I do want to mention about this film before I get out of your hair here is that it had 4 cinematographers. John Woo sometimes shoots with as many as 3 cameras at the same time. And as you know, there's a ton of editing in his films, which is a huge endeavor when you have that much footage. But the amount of editing and the amount of footage that was shot for this film And John Woo was actually, he considers this to be one of his most personal films. It's very emotionally moving. It kind of calls to mind like stuff like The Deer Hunter. And he was involved in the writing of this film and in the editing of this film. And you can see his hand kind of on everything. And it's kind of mind-blowing. If you detach yourself from the story of the film and just think of it as like the technical aspects of filmmaking, what went into making this film is like the fact that they had 4 cinematographers and John Woo was involved in editing all that footage to make like a seamless film that is visually coherent, and it's really like a mind-blowing piece of filmmaking. It is like an emotionally profound film too. So it's kind of a bummer that it doesn't have the reputation in the West that films like The Killer and Hard Boiled have. I think it's just as good as both of those movies. And if you're a fan of John Woo, fan of Hong Kong cinema, you owe it to yourself to check this movie out. You can buy, like I said, you can buy legit Blu-ray copies of this from Hong Kong, and it will play on your Blu-ray player because Hong Kong is the same region encoding as the US. So definitely check this film out. Released in 1990, this is Bullet in the Head.
In a time of great expectation, courage is born in the hearts of 3 friends, and hope awakens a dream of a future destined for greatness. But now, in a moment of truth, a single act of defiance will change their lives forever. And redemption will become a treasure forever lost. This summer, discover one of the most powerful movies ever made.